Hi, welcome back to Pine Tree State Restorations on the 1936 Daisy Golden Eagle. We are restoring right now. Little history about this. This is Daisy's 15th anniversary, 1886 to 1936. It's the Golden Jubilee, and they celebrated it by making the Golden Eagle. It's the only gun Daisy ever made that was copper plated. The only one. Here's the scope tube right here. Fancy writing, right? Um, has a black lacquered stock, multicolored decal. Has a 1,000 shot repeater, 36 inches long, and they made this right before World War II. Actually, during World War II, they didn't make BB guns until I believe the later model Defender. They started making toy guns because wooden guns instead of BB guns because of the war effort, I believe. But this particular gun was $2.50 in 1936, which boils down to about $56 in today's dollars. So amazingly, it wasn't that expensive considering all the stuff they had done to make this gun so nice. It has a kind of a fake scope. It's got like a peep sight in it. It's got a hooded front sight, which also has a little circle inside it. And it's a repeater. Now, let me tell you a little what's going on with this one. The guy brought this in. This gun is in really good shape. Better than most. Stock's not cracked, which is a miracle. The inside of the gun was just dusty, dirty. What I found was several things. The magazine tube spring was gone. That's what holds the BB in for every shot. That little spring was gone right there. I have some in stock, so I replaced it. This is, for some reason, was rusty, and the rest of the gun on the inside was not. So I'm thinking this probably got left out somewhere and didn't get put back in the gun. Also, on the end here, this was bent. How you fix that is you take a crescent wrench and you spin this and you eyeball it and you bend that very carefully until you get that straight with the tube, which I already did, and dug out a spring and replaced it. I still got to do some cleaning on the shot tube. I got to clean up some more rust on there and just get her in better condition. Then I'll probably throw a light coat of oil-based enamel on it, and so it won't rust anymore on the inside. You won't see it. Also, the loading lever, the cocking lever here, the screw that went into the stock was missing the nut, and it was smashed over on one side. So what I did was I had to put tape on the gun, and then I had to take a Dremel and taper that screw down to the good threads, and then unscrew that screw. You couldn't even get it out of the gun. The screw was absolutely obliterated. In fact, I don't know if there's one in here. Here's one of the screws. You could see how bad it was damaged. Toast. Luckily, I have others. This one ain't too bad. They originally, I believe, painted these. They might have plated them, but I'll just paint the new ones. The stock bolt that was in there was the wrong one. This is the stock bolt that was in there. It's a new bolt. I found a brass bolt, which I'm going to use in there. And the trigger bolt was also fried. It looked just like this one. Okay, it was totally obliterated. I have a new one, an original. Here's the trigger right here. I carefully polished it a little bit. There's some burrs on there. I polished it so it's nice and smooth. Cleaned the inside of the tube. Oiled it. How you oil this gun is you drop the oil in down through the barrel, and it'll get down, and you cock the gun, it'll go down inside. I believe this one's got a leather piston in it. This gun shoots hard. When I got it, I checked it on the chronograph, and it was doing like 265 without any oil in it. So the spring is tight, and it shoots hard. It's a good shooting gun. Now, the guy wants this restored, but he doesn't want it over restored. He wants to keep the original patina, original decal, original finish. I can't replate it anyway. You'd have to totally strip it and send it out to get copper plated. And that ain't really going to do anything value wise. In fact, it'd probably degrade it because by the time you polished it all up and redid, did know it. The handle here is also copper plated, or it might have been painted from the factory. I'm not sure. Now, I might repaint that copper and call that good. And the trigger, I might repaint copper and call that good, but I'm not going to touch this. And the scope is absolutely mint. It just needs a good cleaning. All right. So the other issues we had with the gun, besides the screws, the magazine tube, the spring on the magazine tube was bent. The stock was loose in the gun, and you don't want that to happen. I'll tell you why. If that stock's loose, and every time you cock this gun, you risk cracking the stock, and they're famous for cracking. They like to crack right there, okay, right up in here. So we need to make sure that the stock is tight when it's in the gun. And that top screw right there, that hole, is kind of funky. That's where this screw goes in. Down from the top, it holds the scope, and it holds the stock on the back of the gun. Now, that hole's wore out. There's several different ways I can fix that hole. I can bore that out on my Bridgeport with an end mill and put a wooden plug in there, re-drill it and tap it, or I could fill that in with plastic epoxy or gunstock epoxy, re-drill it and tap it. And I got that screw right there. It's got to be tight and not loose because this is where they like to break right here. So you got to make sure that's tight all the time. So he wants to shoot it occasionally, and we're going to get it back into shooting condition after we fix all these little issues it's got. Most of them are fixed. I had taken this gun apart, cleaned the inside. I took a gun cleaning rod and a patch, big patch, and I went inside there and I swabbed out everything on the inside of this gun with WD-40. It wasn't any dirt in it. It was just dusty. Got it all cleaned out. Now, WD-40 will not hurt this copper finish at all. In fact, you could try polishing this, and yes, you'd get a little more shine out of it. In fact, I did a little spot right there. I don't think it improves anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe the whole gun down with WD-40, and that'll keep the rust at bay and protect the finish. Put a screen on it. WD-40 will not hurt copper, and leave it the way it is because it does have some wear on it. Okay, there's some copper finish missing. And if you try to polish it, you'll just take off more. So we're going to wipe that down and leave it. We're going to fix these holes. Now, another thing you want to do after you clean this is you need to grease this hole and the end of this lever. And inside the gun, there's a little rail in there. If you look down inside, I don't know if I can see it or not with the light. If you look down inside there, see that rail? That rides on top of that rail. That spring goes back and forth. You need to grease that, and where the curvature of the top of the receiver is, you need to grease that too. Don't use heavy grease. That'll slow you down. You're going to want to use something like Super Lube because it's a real light grease and it won't slow you down. Because when you pull the trigger, that spring goes forward, rides on that rail, rides on the top. And if you got really heavy, thick car grease in there, it's going to slow you down. This here is really good grease, but it's very slippery and it's very light and it won't slow you down. This guy's not going to shoot this every day. Heavy grease on this, Super Lube in here. On the leather, you're going to use 20 weight or 30 weight, preferably 20 weight, non-detergent oil on that by putting it down the barrel. Something like this. 3-in-1 motor oil, okay? This is a non-detergent oil used on electric motors and other things. But here's the thing. It's got no detergent in it. It's just a straight weight, 20 weight, non-detergent oil. That's what you want in the gun. So we're going to do another video on this after we finish all these repairs. We're going to clean this up more. We're going to get it back together. We're going to grease everything. We have to address this stock. Now, the stock has scratches in it, you know, and there's some spots where the paint's gone. And how am I going to fix that? Because you can't paint it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use black shoe polish, and I'm going to fill that in, okay? And then I'm going to polish it on both sides. Fill that in, polish it, even on the back. Yes, some of it might come off on his shirt when he shoots it, but we'll black shoe polish in, just like the old Zenith Transoceanic trick where they had the canvas covered case and it always looks like crap. They're a black canvas cover and they look terrible. You take black shoe polish to them and polish them and they look just like brand new. You can do the same thing on this black stock. Fill that in and polish that. That way it won't hurt the original sticker that's on there. That's original. And get that all cleaned up and then we'll put it back on. Wipe everything down. Like I said, I might repaint this. I'm not real sure yet. I have a bunch of screws to replace. And there's just a lot of things on the gun that need to be addressed to make this thing right. And then it's going to be in nice shape. This is a rare gun. They're very, very hard to find in any condition at all. Most of them have a broken stock. Most of them, the entire finish is gone. Most of them don't work. And if you find one, you're going to pay. I seen one sell at Baker Air Guns for $300 several years ago. Wasn't as good a shape as this by far. I've seen another one sell for $425, not as good a shape as this one. I've seen another one sell for $800. It had the original box. It had been shot, but it was pretty clean. These could go as high as $1,000, maybe $1,200, if they were brand new in the box, never fired. The sky's the limit. So this is the 1936 Golden Jubilee 15th anniversary Daisy Golden Eagle. We're going to do part 3 on this because there's a lot going on with this gun. And this is a fun one. I'm going to enjoy this. And we'll have this done probably next weekend or maybe the next one after that. We have a lot of things coming up. I bought 5 guns for $20. One of them sitting right here. Winchester Model 74, 1939. First model. Okay. Bought it in 1,000,000 pieces. Missing the rear sight. I already had the sight on it. It's missing a bunch of parts. I already bought the parts. And I have the bolt assembly soaking in mineral spirits to soften up the nasty caked on grease that's in there. That's going to be restored. It's a 1939 22 short Winchester Model 74. First year. 22 short only. Semi-automatic. Load from the back. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Bunch of military rifles, all kinds of cool stuff coming up. So stay tuned. So if you can, please hit like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And stay tuned for part 2 on the 1936 Daisy Golden Jubilee Golden Eagle on Pine Tree State Restorations. We'll see you soon.